Alright, so what is up, guys? So that is right, Switch 2 leaks are confirmed. And so what this means is that we actually have the information about what the Switch looks like and, of course, some of the features about the Switch. And so first, let's just start off with the design of the Switch. And so for the physical console, we're actually going to be getting a bigger display, up to 8 inches this time, instead of the 7-inch display and the 6.2-inch LCD display from the first Switch. Now, we actually aren't totally sure whether or not the display is going to ship LCD or OLED, but we at least have a better idea of it. I will say that the bezels are much thinner than what they were before on the LCD Switch, so I love to see stuff like that. So we also have 2 USB-C ports, one on the top and one on the bottom. The one on the bottom is going to be for whenever you're docking it, and then the one on the top is actually going to be for whenever you're using it in handheld mode. Say you want to use it on tabletop mode, it's able to actually work rather than you having to figure out a way to jimmy the system and put a USB-C cord through the bottom. Don't know why Nintendo thought about doing that for the first one, but so that's right. We're going to get 2 USB-C ports. We're also going to be getting a headphone jack and a microphone on the physical console, giving you a better way of talking to people whenever you're online gaming for Fortnite. The biggest thing is actually going to be the kickstand. So that's kind of going to be one of the recognizable changes besides the giant 2 logo in the Switch 2. But so the kickstand is actually now a full U, and it actually covers the whole console, just like the OLED, but instead of it like one whole plate being a kickstand, it's actually just like this giant U. And so it definitely looks better. It looks good. I hope it's actually durable, unlike that janky kickstand that they put on the first one. But it actually looked like the same design style that they chose from the OLED. So pretty cool. Also, there is a larger vent and it's a little bit thicker, just because it's going to be packing a little bit more power. More on that in a little bit, but it's going to be packing a little bit more power, and so it's going to need a little bit better cooling system. So yeah, it's going to have a larger vent. Let's talk about the dock. So the dock, it wasn't really totally released yet. Some of this is kind of factual from me, what I think is going to happen with the dock, and then some of it's actually true. So I actually think that the dock will have 2 USB-C ports on the front, which will replace the USB-A ports on the current OLED dock. So what this means is, because USB-C is kind of the new standard, USB-C is going to be on the front of the dock. You're going to have 2 ports. You're probably still going to have that 10 gigabit Ethernet and, of course, HDMI. Now, I think this is speculation, but the dock seems to have a fan on the inside of it. And the reason why is just because I think the fan is so that they can put a GPU inside of it to give it a little bit of a bump in performance whenever it's docked. And so what is this bump in performance? And so let's talk about it. So the specs, we think that the specs are going to be a 1080p resolution display when it comes to using it in handheld mode, a 4K output whenever it's docked, and of course NVIDIA Tegra T239, which is equivalent to the RTX graphics cards or the AMD cards that are being put in the ROG Ally and the Legion Go. Now, the one thing I will say that will be great about this is that it will support NVIDIA's DLSS AI enhancement, which definitely will allow for better visuals, and it can increase the battery life by a lot, just because it's not actually using as much power as the current Tegra chip that's in the Switch, which, by the way, the Tegra chip that's in the Switch is from 2014. So it's about time for an upgrade, and so that's why we're going to say 256 gigabytes of SSD storage, which is going to be UFS 3.1 storage. So it's definitely going to be fast, just like the next gen consoles like the PlayStation 5 and the Series X. It's also going to have a micro SD expansion cards, but this one is actually going to be express cards, and express cards have a faster read and write speed up to, I believe, 800 megabits a second, which will allow for obviously better storing of games, but it'll also increase the amount of storage you can put on it. Instead of 512 being the max, I think the max is now going to be a terabyte to 2 terabytes. Now, on board, you're going to have 12 gigabytes of RAM, of course, because you're going to be wanting to play Fortnite and stuff like that, and so you're going to now let's talk about the JoyCons, which is the last one. So There's no IR blaster on the bottom of the Joy-Cons. The IR blaster has actually been moved to the connection point of the Joy-Con, which, by the way, Joy-Cons are magnetic now, and so that brings a whole new boat to the table. I will say that. It looks a little breakable. I wonder how durable it's going to be. But anyway, we'll let Jerry rig everything decide that for us. But yes, that's right. So the IR blaster has been moved to the connection point of the Joy-Cons, which will basically allow it to possibly work like a mouse in shooter games, or games like that need the mouse, or Nintendo will find a way that they can use it in one of their games. The other thing is that they've added a C button right under the possible home button. And so the C button, we think, is the rumored Nintendo Party Chat, which they are a little late to the game for this when it comes to Xbox and PlayStation already having this ability. But seeing that Nintendo's kind of stepping out and they're starting to accommodate for rated M games and things like that, they are going to be adding Party Chat to this next console. And then the last thing, the triggers and the L and R buttons are a lot bigger. So whenever you're playing it, whether that's in tabletop mode, L and R will definitely be much bigger. So it'll allow for better handling whenever you're using it. And then, of course, the right trigger and the left trigger are also, or I think it's ZR and ZL are going to be much bigger. I think that's actually what they're called. I just call them RT and LT. But y'all can correct me if you want. But anyway, they are going to be a lot bigger just because it's going to be more comfortable for handheld mode. And that's the other thing. The thickness will definitely make it a lot more comfortable when holding it in handheld mode. We're not totally sure about battery life. Again, the specs that I nailed down are kind of, from the leaks. Now, I will say that 4K and 1080p are most certainly coming, just because if it's going to be an NVIDIA processor, it's going to have DLSS upscaling, so it's going to be a lot better. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this whole update for the Switch 2. I'm totally going to cop one. Actually, I have an OLED right now, and I think I'm actually going to cop one, so definitely stay tuned for that. This actually isn't really expected to be released until April. It has been publicly announced, but the specs have not been released just yet. I think the Nintendo Direct is going to be in April, and so I think we should see the console released in April, or we'll just say late or early May, early or late May. So we'll see about that. The price range, we think it's going to be below $500, but it's going to be in the $400 to maybe $450. So it's going to be a little bit more expensive than what we had before, but I think it's all beneficial. I actually think it's all worth the upgrade depending on what everyone thinks about it. But till the next one, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. So yeah, peace out.